Welcome to Cubing Corner, your place to learn, practice, and improve at solving Rubik's Cubes and puzzle variation. For this video, we are going to solve the first layer cross for our 3x3 Rubik's Cube. Before we start, please do subscribe and join us in our journey as we learn, improve, and grow together in the world of cubing. So this video will talk about the first part of solving a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. Basically, most of us call this as the first layer cross or solving for the first layer. In solving for the first layer, we are going to start first with picking a center that you want. Okay, so you can use white center. We have the red, blue, yellow, orange, or green. It's up to you. But we can actually use commonly the white center. Take note that there are 6 centers here, and the center is telling us the correct combinations that we need to place here. So in short, if this is actually white, then all of the things here must be white. Okay, but it's not enough for us to say, just like these two, that these two are white. We can say that this is already they are already in the correct places, because once you examine the other portions of this edge and this corner, the colors do not match. Even if the white colors here for this edge and corner matches, but here they don't. So that means that the positions of these parts or blocks are also or still not yet correct. So the first thing we need to do here is, when you pick here a white center, we need to come up with a white cross here. Regardless of whether there are white corners, even if the corners are not white or one of which or all of which are white, what we need to do here first is to come up with a cross. Now, the first hint that you can come up here is that when you look for a cross, just like this one here, this edge, when this edge is also white, must connect to a center that corresponds to this color. Since this edge is a combination of white and green colors, this center here must also be green. Now, there are a lot of things that you can do here. You can manipulate it on your own. You can move this one here. Okay, you can use F movement. F. You can move here as long as it would reach the green center. So we have here, this is still red. Okay, this is still red. So again, white and red. So let's move it here. And this time, we now have the correct position. So we have here white center, green center, and the edge that contains white and green. Still, this corner is not yet correct, but we don't focus on that in the meantime. We just focus on the cross that we can do here. So what we need to do the next here is to find for the rest of the portions here that should be white, but for this edge must be white and red, not yellow. This must be white and orange, and this must be white, and we have here green. Okay, so this is blue. This should be white and blue because this is center is blue. So what we have to do here is this: what face that you have chosen, put it at the top. Okay, that is your upper layer now. Even if there are also some variations of picking this at the bottom, but what I can suggest you here to make it simpler for you is your top here. Now that this is correct, let's try to make sure that this will not be moved out. Let's just simply connect them here. Okay, so what we need to do here is to find edges with white to make this cross. I'm talking about this edge here, which should be placed here at the top. So what you can do here is actually L prime. Okay, because L is that, you can use L prime, moving that up here, and then you will have here 2 parts of green for a cross. However, when you look at this portion here, they don't correspond, because if this is correct, this must be white and this is red. So what I would like to suggest here is, instead of placing this at the top, move this left portion until this white reaches the bottom face, like this one. White here. So move it down in its opposite direction. So this was white here. So the white edge is here. Because it's easier for us to manipulate that when this is white and red. Take note, this was the top portion. This is the cross we would like to fix. So white and red. What you can do is just move the bottom layer. You can use D or D prime. Just like what you did earlier when you move this face to make sure that this fits as green. You can also move now, again, top layer. This was the bottom layer with white. So you move it until you reach the correct color, and it reaches here. So this means this is now correct, and this was white. What you can do is return this at the top using L prime. Okay, it's here, so you would like to place it here. So what you can do is move it up. It's still here, and move it up there. Okay, so we have now two parts of the cross. Originally we have green here, that's correct, and this time we have the correct red. Let me do it again. It was earlier orange, okay, just like this one. It was correct for the green, but here is not. So you move it in your bottom face, so just like that. Now that white is now at the bottom, and since when you're looking at that, it's actually red. So rotate this until it reaches red, and once it does, so you move it up just like that here. When you return at the top, the white is already back in its position, not necessarily the same position earlier, but back in this layer, and then it's not correct at this point. So let us do it again for the next colors. Let us pick this one here. Okay, so make sure that you do not distort this one and that. But what you can do is, again, if we're going to move that up, it doesn't fit the category. So what you can do is just move it down just like that. But when you move it down, take note that when you're going to look for its corresponding color, orange, so orange here and here, okay, white and orange, you can move that again. You can use the R here. It's already here, the orange is here on the right. You move it, the white at the top. But when you look at this one here, we still have green and now orange. The other edge earlier was taken down into this one because we moved the orange earlier. So make sure, still correct, return that. Okay, again, checking green, white, white and red, now white and orange. The last part now is must be white and blue. White and blue. Okay, so where is that white and blue? It's here. Okay, but this is not yet on the bottom face. What you can do for that is manipulate that one. Okay, probably moving that in this portion so that you can move it down. Again, it was earlier here, so you can just simply try mixing it on your own. Make sure that this tree will not be distorted, or one may be moved, but you can simply return that. So I'm moving it here to the portion where it must belong, and then move it up. But if I'm going to use L2 prime, so it's not the correct one here, so I'm just going to make sure that it's until there. So I'm gonna move it down, distorting this orange, but don't worry about that. When I move it down, this is now the edge that we're looking for, white and blue. Look for the center with blue. Okay, and if we're going to move this up here, the orange here is actually destroyed, right? So you return first the orange, because this is what we're going to do here. If it's okay with you for having this, you can move that up, but your orange now is gone. So instead of doing that, return first this one. Okay, so you will have here part of the cross, and then after here you can now use 2 movements to make the cross. Now this might not be a cross because you have here a white color, which is of course incorrect. This must be blue, this must be orange. But certainly, you cover that, you now have your white cross. You can do this similarly for the rest of the faces as well. But this is what we did here, coming up with that form. Okay? So I'm going to show you here. How about picking another face? Let's say I would like to use green. So you have here green, and this is white. So earlier it was like that, right? Okay. So I'm gonna look for white, and when I reach to that, that's already good. Okay. So I have here green and white. Next is for the 3 green edges here. So this one here is a green. I'm gonna move it down. This was again green and red. Move it down. So you have your green and red. Look for the center with red. It's here. But similarly earlier, if we're going to move that green up to match here, this green with white, which is already good earlier, will be destroyed. So you move that up so that we turn into the green and white. And since you have your green and red here, you can now use this move coming up with that, where your green and red corresponds and green and white corresponds as well. Now, how about the rest? This is green as well. So you move it down, but this was actually green and orange. Move that down. So here is green and orange. This is not orange. Look for the center with orange. Like this one. This is not correct. Take note that you have removed or moved earlier this red here to take out that orange, so you can return that with no problem. And going down to our orange now in green, we would like to have a cross of green. It's now good here, so you move that up and you will have now 3 parts of the cross. The remaining edge is this one here, okay, green and yellow. So this one here, you move it down. Again, this was green and yellow, so look for the center with yellow, and you reached here. So take note that you have taken this down as well as your green. So since there are no problems, you can return that green there. So green, orange, green, white, green, red. Now for your green and yellow, they are now correct, so you can move that up. So similar as earlier, we're going to cover this. You have your cross for green. So practice this first before the next part, where, say for example, I'm just going to just make it like that one. This is our cross. The next part would be fixing the corners, where green corners must be in the correct position, where, say for example, if you would like here a green, okay, the green corner must also include orange and yellow for this portion here. But this time, this is already good for the first layer cross. Please practice this on your own before moving to the next part of the algorithm in solving 3x3 Rubik's Cube. At Cubing Corner, we believe every solver starts somewhere, one turn at a time.